So in our first two videos of 9-5, we only talked about how do we solve or complete the square in order to solve a quadratic equation. So we're going to now apply this to some application problems. So it says in our first example, the senior class at Bay High School buys jerseys to wear to football games. The cost of the jerseys can be modeled by the following equation. C is equal to, and then 0.1 squared. And there is a typo there. Oh, nope, just in mine. So 0.1 x squared plus 2.4x plus 25. C represents how much it costs altogether, and x is the amount of jerseys that they buy. So we're going to figure out, well, how many jerseys can we purchase with $430? So that's going to be our total cost. So I'm going to take that equation that they give me, and I'm going to replace the C value with 430, because that's how much it's going to cost me. And then I'll copy down the rest of the problem. So one way of solving, like we've been talking about this whole time, is, well, we can complete the square. And actually, you know what? I'm sorry if you already wrote that down. I kind of want to erase this. I'm going to put that equals 430 on the other side, just because it's more appealing to me to have it on that side. So I have an A value, right? So that means I need to divide everything by 0.1. And let me tell you, the beauty about this is now I'm going to be working with whole numbers. So I've got x squared plus 24x plus 250 is equal to 4,300. So now we know how to complete the square. We'll go ahead and subtract 250 to both sides. And so I get x squared plus 24x equals, and then we've got, let's see, 4,050. So to complete the square here, I'm going to take that 24, my b value, divide it in half, so that gives me 12. And I square it, and it gives me 144. So that means I need to add 144 to both sides. So plus 144. So now my new equation is x squared plus 24x plus 144 is equal to 4,194. Now I can go ahead and factor my equation on the left-hand side. And I understand I'm kind of running on to the next problem, and I apologize. Hopefully you're doing a better job of organizing this than me. You're writing smaller. So I know that the square root of 144 is 12, and that adds up to 24 when I double it, equals 4,194. And then I'll go ahead and square root both sides. So square rooting now. In this instance, okay, I understand that square root of 4,194, that's a big number, and I don't want to, and I've been telling you guys that we don't want decimals, we want to simplify radicals, but in this case, since we're trying to get an approximate number of jerseys, we can actually get a decimal. And so now I've got x plus 12 on the left-hand side is equal to, and the square root of 4,194 is approximately 64.8, so I'm running to nearest tenth. And then technically, that would be the positive or negative value, right? We get two answers when we square root, but we can't have negative jerseys, so I only want the positive value. And so then I can go ahead and subtract 12, and I get that x is equal to 52.8, or about 52 jerseys. Okay? So, for the next example, we've got a triangle. So we want to figure out the x value if they tell me that the area is 45 inches. So I want to start by, how do I represent the area of this triangle? Well, remember that a triangle is just base times height divided by 2. So my base here is x plus 8, and my height is x. Now I'm putting the x first, but that's okay, my height, because it's all multiplication. So when I multiply that through, it gives me x squared plus 8. And then when I divide it in half, that gives me 1/2 x squared, because the coefficient in front of the x squared is just 1, plus, oops, I forgot my x over here at the top. I apologize when I distributed that. So just backtrack. It should be x squared plus 8x divided by 2. So then 8x divided by 2 is 4x. And I know that this whole thing is equal to 45 because that's what they're telling me over here. Now I want to go ahead and complete the square. Before I do that, I need to divide everything by 1/2, which, FYI, when I divide by a fraction, I'm really multiplying by its reciprocal, or just 2, just so you know. And so I get x squared plus 8x is equal to 90. Now I got to find the c value to make this a perfect square trinomial. So I'll take 8 divided by 2, which gives me 4. Square it gives me 16, so I need to add 16 to both sides. So I get x squared plus 8x plus 16 is equal to 106. Then I'll go ahead and factor the left-hand side, so square root of 16 is 4. And I'll do x plus 4, since it's a positive 8, squared is equal to 106. I'm going to change my color here, and we'll go ahead and square root both sides. And I get x plus 4 now is equal to, now again, because I want a value for x, and we don't need the negative value, I can go ahead and we can use some decimals here. So square root of 106 is approximately 10.3. And then finally I'll subtract 4, and I'll get that x is equal to approximately 6.3 inches. So why don't you guys try the next one on your own? So now we're talking about a rectangle. So an area of a rectangle is just base times height. So first you would want to start by taking the base of 2x and multiplying it by its height of x plus 5. And we know it equals 110. So I'll distribute that 2x in there and get 2x squared plus 10x is equal to 110. So now I need to find that perfect c value, and so, oh actually no, I take that back, I have an a value, so I need to divide everything by 2. So I get x squared plus 5x is equal to, and then 110 cut in half is 55. So now I'll take the 5, divide it by 2, which does give me a decimal, that's 2.5, and I'll square it, and that's going to give me 6.25. So I'm going to go ahead and add 6.25 to both sides. So now I'll have x squared plus 5x plus 6.25 is equal to, let's see, what is that? 61.25. Now I need to factor what's on the left-hand side, and I kind of ran out of room, so I'm going to go all the way up here. If you square root 625 or 6.25, that'll give you 2.5. So it factors into x plus 2.5 squared is equal to 61.25. Whoops, didn't mean to change the screen there. Oh my gosh, I don't know why it keeps doing that. All right, so now I'll go ahead and square root both sides, and that gives me x plus 2.5. Again, we can go ahead and find the decimal value. So the square root of 61.25 is approximately 7.8. And then we'll subtract 2.5 to both sides. And we get x is equal to approximately 5.3. And that's 5.3 feet.